Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
I'm DJ.
And I'm Alex.
This is Alex and DJ. Watch It Doc. And this week, we watched
Unbelievable.
Fantastic Fungi on Netflix.
Fungi.
You said that, but people were pronouncing it both ways during that movie.
I feel like Fungi was winning that one.
But in popular culture, Fungi is, the unanimous winner.
I feel like it's entirely a unanimous winning, and I thought they sounded silly trying to make us feel silly. Yeah, Uranus.
But you don't say fungus.
Fungus. Exactly, that's the problem with it. But it's almost like, well, now the I's there, that's a soft G, because of the I. So you gotta respect the I and soften that G.
Well, we'll have to do a whole separate episode about the pronunciation.
Yeah, by the way, we have a lot to get through with this.
We can't be getting caught up in semantics.
Yeah, and yet we always love to.
We do. Welcome, everybody. This episode we're both very excited for. I got a lot of notes. I wrote it out on a notepad. Alex did tremendous research after watching Fantastic Fungi because it sparked our imaginations. It was, basically, this is all about fungi, mushrooms, but mushrooms are only the flower of the entire fungus network, right?
What are you talking to them for?
Am I still talking to them?
Yeah, you should be talking. We should.
When did you get here? I thought this was a solo episode.
You know what? I started an hour ago, and I'm glad you finally arrived.
Okay, so yes, I'll talk to you now.
Yeah.
But I guess I was trying to convey the wonder to them. Guys, I'm going to talk to Alex now, okay?
Thanks, guys, for respecting this relationship.
It was incredible.
Listen, I understand why you want to go on about the mushrooms like that. There's a lot to get through. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, but there was a lot. It was about the physical. It was about the metaphysical, and it was about the connection of us all. Is that right?
I couldn't have said it better.
Fantastic. Well, that was great. That was another episode of Alex and DJ Watch It. No.
Watching this, I felt the same sort of wonder that I feel when I watch documentaries about space.
Yes.
Where you're like, it's so big and vast, how can we possibly understand this? But then when you look inward into the soil, it's the exact same thing.
This was better than space, right? I mean, and this is coming from, when I was a kid, I loved space, but this is more, it was more than just looking at the out there. Because right now the out there is mostly just kind of theory, and we can't really, there's only so much that we really truly can know. And so it's, for some people it's more exciting than others. But this was more revelatory, I would say.
It felt revelatory because it's been under my feet this whole time.
Here we are.
You know what I mean, though? And I'm like, how did I not know?
Yes.
Obviously I know what fungus is, but I've only scratched the surface of. Well, they even mentioned that in terms of what we know about fungi and how we've used them and all that. We've only scratched the surface. But the fact that there's just the fact that we're related to them.
Yeah.
That we both came from we branched off into fungus and humans.
That's it.
And then there's been multiple mass extinction events, and the fungus came back again.
That's right.
And then we branched off from them.
I feel like we have a real connection, the fungi and I.
Nice.
I didn't mean it; just came, but thank you. Unintentional, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stick with it. No, it's just the idea that they broke away from us so early on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't, we can get into the details of what to talk about this documentary, but there are elements of me just wanting to spew whatever it is.
Do it.
The idea that they broke away, and the differences between them and us is what I kind of found fascinating, is that they ingest by kind of going outwardly, and they just ingest, and we envelop. We do so. What we do is individual, just on our own, and they kind of go out into the environment by the way that they digest. Mm-hmm. So already there's like this separation of we separated. They became this network that was everywhere, and we sort of became this individualistic thing.
Yeah, we had our stomachs inside of us, the sack.
That's right. So they're always connected, whereas we are separate, having to create community that they just do naturally. It's no big deal, community for fungus.
Yeah, and not only are they creating a community, but the thing they said that was so crazy was that they create life, they destroy life, they carry life. Yeah. Like, they are life. Like, every element, the beginning of life, the end of life, they're there for both of them.
Yes.
Like, for us to not feel connected to that, I guess it was revelatory, like you said, because you're like, I've eaten mushrooms, and I've eaten mushrooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've done
Magic both. And, just regular food. But I've never thought about how deep that connection is and what fungus represents. Or even like the thing when they brought up penicillin, how that was just from a I knew that somewhere in my head, but I didn't fully. I'm like, that's fucking crazy, man. Penicillin, because I read this article like a month ago that was about penicillin and other scientific breakthroughs too. And before penicillin, man, if you were walking through a field or a forest and something like pricked you, there was a chance you were going to die from that at some point.
Yeah, totally.
Like it got infected and you were like, well, they said people used to try to rub moldy bread on it or something like. So and the fact that penicillin swung World War II, they think, because the Brits and the
that was good. Yeah,
the Brits had access to it, the Japanese and German didn't.
Right. You know why? Because I think they kind of know, they have a consciousness and they know what side is the good side. And so they were able to communicate. That's the thing. They're communicators. That's what I found really another fascinating thing. By the way, I'm going to keep going on these.
Go ahead.
The big idea theories about this. They're communicators, right? They communicate. They're able to communicate very well using trees to communicate with each other through nutrients. And so it's like and the trees can recognize seedlings and all that sort of thing. So they communicate. They're like these communicators among plant life, right? Which made me think, by the way, all these like house plants around here. Poor guys, they're all cut off. They're like, we've made them act like us. They're all individuals, not with the communicators under them. Communicate so they can communicate to each other.
Yeah, it's true, but that's evolution, and they don't know any other way to live, so they might be happy. They look pretty happy to me.
Hey, listen, I don't want to shit on your house plants and how you holding them against their will and separating them and having species who would never be together, having to fucking be roommates. Anyway, whatever. They're just plants.
We're doing that in LA. You know what I mean?
Pretty much.
Like everywhere in the world,
but that's the thing is that
we're Canadian. We don't belong here.
You think
we're not indigenous to this area?
That's true, but I'm saying that is based on who we are. We're now cutting off the way they are from themselves, from their communication, their network. We're basically taking them off the internet.
I guess. I did have a thought. I wonder if they would be happier if we kept all these same plants, but they were all in one like big vat or something, sharing soil, so that a network could grow between them. I would be curious what would happen there.
Yeah, some would kill others, right? Some would like probably start arguments with others. That's the thing. I don't know what they're saying, but I mean, you got to know that some of them are like, get the fuck out of here, because that's the thing. They're more territorial, whereas we're territorial. Whereas the network of the mushroom of the mycelium is not territorial.
Do you know something they said that's really crazy? That you always think of evolution as Darwinian and like, survival of the fittest.
Right.
But they said something near the end of the documentary. They said evolution is based on generosity. And it was just a way that I've never heard evolution described, because it usually sounds so like cutthroat, dog eat dog. Evolution is based on mutual benefit and the extension of generosity. Based on what all the networks you talked about, mycelium knowing where to send carbon to, the trees knowing when one's not doing as well, sending their carbon to there. But I've never thought of evolution in that way. It's always been the opposite of survival of the fittest. Not we need to share amongst each other.
Community, yes. It's communism. I mean, that's the thing. Communism works in the plant world. Now, I am, from the last episode, you might know, freshly American, so I don't want to necessarily say communism is better, but I'm just saying the fungus, they've been around as long as we have, and they kind of figured it out without, killing our own planet. So
they've been around longer than we have.
Yeah. Well, they've been around longer. Yeah. Well, I mean, we split off. Yeah, you're right.
But then we died, and then they had to bring us back again somehow.
Yeah.
Right? After the meteor? That's what they alluded to.
Life and animals you're talking about. You're talking about us as animals, not just humans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is another thing that this movie did. We can think of ourselves as so separate from it, but we are just animals who found a way, probably because of psilocybin, the stoned ape hypothesis. Yeah. We found a way to be a lot more, I guess the word would be conscious, self-aware, whatever we are.
That's evolved. It's the idea that they were taking mushrooms off of crap.
Yeah.
And they would pop it, and then what would happen is their mind would be expanded by that experience, and also connections. This is the other thing too, right? Now we're getting into the trippy stuff. So the idea of communication and connection happening, that's what they're known for. That even on this microscopic level, which by the way, I'm wearing I should say molecular level, I'm wearing my molecule hat. that's no. You can
Oh,
ask.
I thought you were going to say you needed a microscope to see your brain. I thought you were going to be self-deprecating or something.
That's much funnier.
Nah, it's hurtful, especially for me to be the one that said I thought that's where you were going.
It's much funnier, I was going to say, if I said it.
Tell me more about your hat, Alex.
Yeah, okay. It's nice, and it contains a large enough brain, you can tell. Yeah, I got a nice hat. So anyway, on a molecular level, they actually help our brains form connections and communicate. So that's the amazing thing, is that they do it on this physical, a macro level, and then on the micro level, within neurons playing around with each other. And
neurogenesis.
Yeah,
they help grow new neural pathways.
Yeah, see, they
That's
help
the plasticity
tree
of the
growth,
brain.
and they help a nut growth.
That's
right.
right.
Your noggin.
It's true, though.
Yeah,
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Have you done magic mushrooms?
I have done them. Yes, I've done them to do varying effects. Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah.
This movie made me go, I got to do shrooms again very soon.
Sure. No, I was definitely curious, but not like in that kind of recreational way that you enjoy. I'm saying like more kind of like as a.
What do you know about how I enjoy it?
Getting to know myself more, and anyway,
No, what you're describing is why I love mushrooms.
I know, I was fucking with you. I was trying to denigrate you for no reason because of the earlier comment about my brain.
I understand, and I should have just taken it and accepted it and knew that it wasn't about me, it was about you.
But you know what? You're a little more sensitive than I am. We both already know that.
Listen, this all started because of your sensitivity, so I'm not going to let you just softball that one back my way, okay?
Yeah, because
you say a guy's got a small brain and he holds it against you.
Because it hurts.
The stoned ape hypothesis, though, was mind-blowing because, I'm not much beyond a stoned ape.
You are stoned
ape. And
Sure.
that sounds like a scientific hypothesis. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Apes just did mushrooms enough that it just expanded their consciousness over 2 million years.
Yeah, 2 million years is long enough time for, that many mushrooms.
But they said their cortexes grew by 3 times, 300% in those 2 million years, which is a short time in evolutionary time. So
can I just not jump over that time, though? Because I just realized I had this image of like what happened actually during that time. Like if an ape actually had one, and then another ape watched that guy going through a thing and kind of screaming a bit, but also like, wow, and going, oh, I'd like to try that experience. Because wouldn't you, and maybe you'd kind of go, that's fucking weird. There's only the adventurous apes that would be willing to take a psychedelic risk.
Or maybe they didn't know it was a risk at first. It's like that this author who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, where you don't know when you were eating a mushroom back then or a berry, like if it was going to kill you, or so maybe the first stoned ape ate it and like was right away like, and the other apes were like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's like, look at this guy, man.
Well, that's the thing. That's the part that I'm talking about. You look at the sky man coming from an ape. It's the communication. It's the communication. Yeah.
No language yet, but just, they get it.
I do.
I'll work on my ape acting skills. Give me another one.
I was going to say, I'm going to let you. I'm like, there you go. That's a good
the
act
ape saying it's beautiful.
Oh, was that an ape saying it's beautiful?
Yeah, without being able to. It would probably make a sound.
I have to say, that's beauty? There's so much sadness in
Pain
that.
and beauty are inextricably linked.
I'm really having difficulty reading your emotions. I don't know if that's a failure on me.
I think it's me. I'm very inscrutable. So they're not a vegetable.
Inscrutable.
They're not a vegetable. They're not an animal. They're somewhere in between. Its own kingdom, millions of species. When you are walking at any given time, you're stepping on 300 square feet. Miles or feet?
Miles.
300 square miles of mycelium.
Yeah.
Every step you take.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's. I mean, you think about that. If it's worth anything, we got to harvest that stuff up and start selling it. Is what I'm saying. That's where capitalism is going to go underground and really maybe all because mycelium is apparently they can heal us, right? I mean, that's the other thing too. Is the the penicillin, but also I actually looked up. There's they're doing research right now. They're doing a study right now. I think the results are going to be at the end of December, of using, what was it? There's two. Agaricon. What was it called again? Agricon. It was Sounds like a name.
Oh yeah, the mushroom in the forest you're trying to find.
Yeah, the mushroom in the forest.
Agaricon or something. Yeah,
something that sounds like it's from
Can I just tell you something? You know how you said they can heal us too?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the face I made there, but I was very surprised because I thought you said they can hear us too.
Oh, right.
And I was like, they can?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember.
I want to hear
part.
this study about the listening mushrooms.
Yeah.
They're listening to me right now from this cream of mushroom soup. I love cream of mushroom soup, by the way. Let's not discount what mushroom does
as a culinary thing.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
to the table. Let's not just gloss over just because they're so fascinating, and they also are tasty and
delicious.
We need to eat them.
It's true.
I completely lost my train of thought.
You were talking about the agaricon mushrooms.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yes. They're doing a study to test it against COVID, like to be able to heal a little bit more, at least, with some of the worst symptoms of COVID. They're doing a study right now, right here at the University of California, UCLA, and also San Diego. Like they're doing it all around there.
Really?
Yeah.
So are they finding anything in this
That's
study?
all I got. So look it up.
You want to know another cool thing that Paul Stamets is doing right now?
What's that?
By the way, Paul Stamets, I wanted to be him when I was watching. I'm like, this
Good
guy's the
story.
coolest. He's wearing a Grateful Dead hat for a lot of it, too.
Totally.
I'm like, this guy did so many psychedelics, and he just seemed like such a nice guy. And even the way he described that story of his friend Dad burning the book, Altered Consciousness, I think it was called.
Yeah.
But he wasn't even mad. He was like, I owe a debt of gratitude to Ryan Snyder's dad for burning that book. Because I thought, if this is so crazy that he feels like he needs to burn it, it must be good. So he learned more. But Paul Stamets right now is working with NASA to bring fungi to space because he's the first. He gave himself a title. He's also the first mycologist to ever appear in Star Trek because they needed his help with the plot point. So they gave a character his name, I think.
Right.
Anyway, so he's working with NASA. He's the world's first, I think he's calling himself this, astromycologist. Space mushroomologist.
Uh-huh.
And so this interview, I just got to tell you verbatim what he said, because this is mind-blowing what he plans on doing in space. So this was in Scientific American, and they said, the second stage of your proposal involves determining the most effective way to use a fungus once the best type is selected. What might that look like? And Paul Stamets says, the universe is rich with hydrocarbons. What oyster mushrooms do really well is break down hydrocarbons and dismantle them and restructure them into fungal carbohydrates into sugars. Sugars are an absolutely essential nutrient, of course, for practically all life forms that I know of on this planet. So the idea of using hydrocarbons as a feedstock for oyster mushrooms makes a lot of sense. But then here's what he says. It's not like the fungi could just use hydrocarbons alone. They need a boost. That's where we have to supplement them. But once you begin to create this reaction, it becomes catalytic. That is self-sustaining. So what he's saying is the more you feed this catalytic reaction, the more biodiversity you have. Again, you have other organisms growing and dying. So he's basically saying if we just send fungi to space, and then just add a few supplements, they'll create food, they'll create life. We don't have to send all this stuff up in rockets. The fungi it's like how Earth started, basically, according to this documentary. You let them be the starting point, along with the humans you send up there, and then just watch these catalytic reactions stop until you have food, you have plant life, you have everything. And he also says that he wants to give the astronaut psychedelic magic mushroom, psilocybin.
Yeah.
Because he says it's known to treat loneliness, depression, PTSD. These are all things that astronauts they all have,
Sure.
especially while they're up in space. He said, I'm dead serious with sincerity when I say we should give our astronauts magic mushrooms in space. Not in mushroom form, pill form, but psilocybin.
If you call it Shrooms in Space, I'll buy that screenplay. It sounds like you got yourself a nice little story there.
Seth Rogen's got to be one of the astronauts.
I'm just suggesting that it's a good... I think Stamets makes a good story. All the stories he told about his youth moving into his, starting his relationship with mushrooms and all that, I'm like, this is kind of like a good origin story for a guy who's very impressive. I mean, the fact that he got over a stutter that kept him from university and yet became this amazing... more prolific, I would say, than an academic personality. And
the fact that he got over the stutter with the help of the thing that he loves. He took magic mushrooms, and then his stutter was gone the next day when he woke up.
That was it too, right? It's everything, but it's like a superhero story, right?
It's true.
Mushrooms took away that weakness he had, and he could look someone. I mean, There's actually a lot of what I thought about this. Here, I'm going to go off another riff of like my take on the whole thing. There's a lot of it too that did feel messianic, a little bit like it was like the Messiah of mushrooms that will save us, right? Right, and that's part of my sort of thinking of it too, is the idea of like, well, we split up, right? You know, like pretty much in a way you kind of gave birth to us, so now we fucked things up. Now you got to come around and save us.
That's true.
You know, so
yeah.
All I want to say is mycelium, it's your move. So it does, but it does feel like a savior. It's a savior kind of story, right? It's like it could save us, and then you've got him who's kind of a savior disciple. He's got his own superhero origin story, right? And then there's, you know, talks of like spiritual experiences. There's the idea that it could save humanity. There's the idea of these. Here are the young kids who've taken. Anybody can be a scientist. It's like this kind of like, come, you can be converted to this. By the end of it, I'm like, I think I want to go forager.
I know, me too.
I'm like, he said it was like a combined, like the bloated pleasure seekers with a scientific bent. I think that's how it was described.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you know, why do you have to point at me over here?
I thought bloated was an odd choice of adjective. Choice,
yeah. Like as though all of them are just big pot-bellied, you know. Why do they have to be bloated? Mushrooms seem to be quite healthy.
I know. Yeah, I agree. That's a good hypothesis. And the thing with that kind of messianic angle you're saying is that we're not often good to our messiahs. So I felt that when they were talking about all the uses we can have, I'm like, let's not go fucking up mycelium if it's this important. Because I know a few other important things on this earth that we're not taking care of, like water and air. Yeah. You know? So they're like, we can use it for this, and even sending it to space and everything. I'm like, hold up here. I'm just learning about this thing, but let's ask some questions here.
It's all about you. You just came into the picture, and you make some of the decisions around here.
If I may make a callback, I'm like the guy in Seaspiracy who just learned about something, but only he can fix it now. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And he's got the hard truth that nobody else wants to hear. They don't want to let him through those doors.
You got to follow the money.
Yeah, you got to follow the money.
You're telling me Paul Stamets was able to buy all that land in Vancouver from his patent? Where are you getting your money from, Stamets?
This is I never like seeing the cynical side out of you. It's never good.
You know, I really did love him. I loved Suzanne Simard, who is another contributor to the documentary. I read the New York Times, so, you know, I'm not getting a broad array of media, but they've mentioned her so much in the last couple months. She released a book recently. That whole theory about the mother tree giving to its kin, like the trees are able to, that you mentioned earlier, trees can recognize their kin. That's her theory. She just released a book in the last couple months called Finding the Mother Tree, I think. So I love when I like read about somebody and then I see them. This has happened a couple times while we've been watching these documentaries. Right. I'm like, oh, so these are really respected people in their field, and that's why you see them here, and here. When people have a question, they're like, we got to ask Paul Stamets or Susan Simard. But I don't know why I got on to the point about Suzanne Simard.
Because of the wonderful things she came up with her theories and the fact that it connects to the idea of the...
what I was going to say is I loved seeing her. I loved Paul Stamets. I loved that other author, Michael Pollan, I think his name is, the guy who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma.
That both of those names sound like plant parts. Stamen and Pollan.
You're right. Is Simard? Isn't there something?
Simard? I'm sure. It's either that or it's some kind of an after dinner liqueur. I can't remember which.
So I think because this was a kind of hippy dippy connected concept, the people who were asked to speak in it all seemed like great people, like the people who wanted what's best for this planet.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Is it felt like, wow, maybe this is the answer. Maybe this is, maybe it can save us. I mean, also it does crawl into ants' heads and then sprouts out their necks after it's done consuming them, right? And also, what about athlete's foot? You know what I mean? Like, it's not all, fungus isn't all fun.
Or that's that patent that Stamets made where he realized that termite were they were repelled by the spores of the mycelium, the fungus, so they would avoid it, and they were eating all these trees away. I forget what species of trees. So he came up with the fungus that would the spores would activate later.
Yeah.
And not only would they activate later, but it attracted the termites.
Right.
Because before, if any termites came back to the main hive, I think it's called, and they had any hint of a spore, the bodyguard termites would stop them outside, rip their head off, and then kill themselves in case they got infected too. So that they didn't infect the queen and the whole. But now these termites were due to Staymat's patent, they were bringing spores, they were attracted to the spores, would ingest it, go back, infect the whole hive, and the queen and everybody would die.
And so, as I see it, that represents communism working very well, and then capitalism with the patents coming in and infecting everything.
You're going to lose your citizenship, man.
I can't help thinking this way. Ever since I joined this place, I can't help but think this way.
Man, and this all happened because those apes ate the mushroom shit.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, too. Clearly, they've been hanging around going like, hey, listen, animals, you and I should speak, right? We haven't talked for a while. You look like you kind of got some things going on. I feel like you're ready for a talk. And I could see what you're doing with the tools there. I think we could talk.
Yeah.
And then they spoke. And then here we are back again. And now we have to talk to them and say, could you help us out again? We need some help.
To the mycelium?
Yeah, save the earth.
Help us, mycelium. Help us. But mycelium doesn't care. That's the thing they said is like tomatoes, for example, when they turn red, that's them letting the earth know. Right. Hey, I'm ready. Pick me. Mushrooms, they don't give a shit about us.
Yeah, mycelium doesn't care as a T-shirt. That's merch. I think that's.
Listen, don't talk about merch, okay? That's a capitalistic idea, and I don't want you flip flopping in front of me here. Are you in or are you out?
If he can get a patent, I can get a T-shirt. I want a T-shirt, and I like the idea of maybe also a viral video that's a little bit like that honey badger one.
Ah, okay. Right, yeah. Are you gonna do a voiceover on a mycelium?
Mycelium doesn't give a shit or whatever. I'll do a thing like that.
I mean, it sounds like it's got potential. Yeah. I only got a snippet of it there, but I mean, I can see this going
I'm
gold.
only starting to work on the voice, so let me find something.
The fungus cleaning up the oil spill, right? They're able to put fungus. Sure. He said the experiment he did that cleaned up the oil, and then new life started where the oil had been.
That was a good one.
The fungus helping cure the bee problem. We have all the bees dying. Antiviral fungus for the bees.
I was wondering about the bees, and every time I never did enough research into it to really find out, and I didn't realize that it's a viral thing that the fungus can come back and help us with.
What is the virus? Is it the same virus hurting bees worldwide?
Well, it can handle different viruses, right? That's why there's like H1N1, H5N1 or whatever, like the swine flu and the bird flu and all those. It was beneficial. It basically just helps your immune system is what it does. That's what that study's about, is about making sure all your immune support kind of kicks in. I'm not going to get into the specific names of the immune support because that would require me to read from a page like you've been doing for most of this. What are we doing for time? No, you know what
I wanted. You know what you do? You say these things, but if I bite and come back at you, you'll be like, "Oh, you're so sensitive," and I'm learning that about you. So I'm just gonna. Good. Yeah. I have been reading, Alex.
That's right.
That's what I'm gonna say. I have been reading.
Coming prepared. I know everything you're gonna say and all that, but you know what? I am pretty prepared. That's why I have notes too.
There's no preparation. We're having a conversation. You know what I mean? That's just something I've been meaning to tell you, Alex. It's not a competition. It's a conversation. Put that on your merch. You know what I love? That thing that they showed in the doc that said President Nixon called Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in America. And while they said that, they cut to footage of Leary giving a speech with 2 flowers in his hair. It was so perfect. Like the most dangerous man in America. And he's got the flower. Oh, no, this guy.
And you look at Nixon and you're like, you look, just by looking at you look more dangerous.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those ideas were dangerous, man. That guy in, was it Life magazine or Time magazine in 1957 who went and met with the woman in the forest and she taught him all her ways with psilocybin. Sure. And then he published an article in a big magazine in 57. Life or Time, one of those two. Yeah. And that was kind of the genesis of people being like scientists, the cognoscente, as they called it.
The cognoscente, yes, that's right.
Experimenting with it. And there was
your cognition.
Yeah, with how these drugs could help us, and it was a big movement. And they said people who are free, who are taking these psychedelics. This was Timothy Leary. He said the kids now who are taking psychedelics, they're not going to fight your war, and they're not going to join your corporations. They don't buy it, and that's not. You can't have people thinking that way.
No.
So that's why Nixon did the war on drugs, shut down
Sure.
all the drug research
Didn't
for
work.
years.
Didn't work. Well, I mean, the research, yes, but didn't work shutting down drugs. They're still enjoyed. But the research, it's cool that one guy called it like a Rip Van Winkle, the fact that like 20 years, or 30 years exactly, that it started up again. And that like suddenly people started getting great responses to it. And then, by the way, then the movie turned into a kaleidoscope. I love it. It was like 10 minutes of a kaleidoscope. All right, I'll buy into this. Meanwhile, you're taking mushrooms watching. Oh, okay, you know your audience.
I loved it. That kaleidoscopic thing I thought that was a good, home stretch. I was like, this is where we need to go to end this movie. The guy was wearing the Grateful Dead hat. Damn it! I was like, as much as they didn't want to focus on that aspect of it, like they did near the end, but they held it close to their vest until the end, and then the last half hour was like, okay, here's what we really came to talk about. You need to take magic mushrooms. Enjoy this kaleidoscope.
That's what you're really here for. That was just set up to get you here in the chair.
But I agree with them 100%. Like, I forget who said it, but he said, why do the molecules of magic mushrooms fit so perfectly into our brain receptors and our body receptors? What's the reason? If they are the mother of us all, we are connected to them in some way. I have felt so amazing after doing mushrooms. I feel like mushrooms have actually changed who I am. Yeah. I really believe that. Like, I think I would be a different person if I haven't probably done them, let's say, 25 times in my life.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's with or without a shaman?
Oh, usually with a friend. Or
no shaman. You don't get. I think you need some supervision. That's the thing. In the studies, they have supervision.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've never done that thing where you take a full fucking handful like some people do, and they go meet God. Like, I've never
you just
done
have
that
a
crazy.
Small recreational amount, but not just recreation.
I mean, I have done them recreationally, and they've been some of my best days with my friends.
One bad trip.
I had my second time I ever did. I had a slightly bad trip because my girlfriend at the time, her dog had just died, and then we got the news, and then my buddy picked me up, and we went to a cottage, and I was doing them on the beach, and then it dawned on me, oh shit, Molly's dead. But I got over it. We were also listening to Radiohead in Rainbows. That album had just come out.
That'll do it.
Oh my God, that album! If you're already having a slightly bad trip, it's like, holy crap, man! Why are we listening to this right now?
Totally. But I would run away from that while I was on a trip.
But other than that, amazing trip. Madge had never done them before.
Right.
And I was her shaman. We did them at another cottage in Bracebridge, Ontario. We were dating for a couple months.
Sure.
And I feel like that was like the day we fell in love. Like, we were already like falling in love, but the connection that we formed was intense, man.
That's mycelium working right there.
For real.
Connecting things.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
It sounds, but like, you're laughing, you're crying,
Sure.
It's beautiful, man. I've never done ayahuasca. That I would do a shaman for. I don't think that's a fungus. I don't actually know what ayahuasca is. It's a plant, though, but it's not a fungus, I think. But that I wouldn't. They say you're going to puke and shit when you're doing ayahuasca.
Yeah, that's more like, that's for you to truly feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
To go through death. I mean, that's kind of what he went through, I guess, Stamens, when he did the heroic dose that got rid of his stutter.
And he was on a tree in a lightning storm? That sounded terrifying.
I'm saying this is so cinematic. I mean, this would so work as a biopic. And you know what? If mushrooms start, really taking off, he might be in a good biopic. I might be the one directing it. I don't know.
And then by the end of it, they're in space. Shrooms in space.
Shrooms in space. That's sequel time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm thinking the whole first thing could just be how did he end up in space?
In space. I mean, I guess if he's already in space. Everybody's in space these days.
That's true. What do you think of Brie Larson doing the voice of the fungus?
I think she's definitely looks pretty. No, I would say that at first I was like, why is a mushroom talking to me in a cute girl's voice? And then I looked up, waited to the end too. Actually, no, I looked up. I was like, who the hell is that? And Brie Larson is a mushroom. So funny. I mean, you look at mushrooms not gonna have that voice.
Well, she's not a mushroom. She's fungus.
She's all a fungus. Yeah.
She's as old as the earth itself.
She's not old. She's a little.
I know, but as that character, she was.
Yeah. See, I would have. I would have preferred Ian McKellen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he would be. He sounds like fungus.
Yeah.
Like, not fun, but he sounds as old as the earth itself.
That's what I want.
Yeah. But she sounds motherly.
Very sweet, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you felt coddled by her voice?
I wasn't a fan of the voice. I don't know. I don't know if it needed it.
No, I don't think it needed it. It's a way to, bring everybody in to feel like it was her voice is supposed to be a little bit of a hug. It's gonna be okay. Mushrooms are kind of scary, but do I sound scary?
You're right, and it did work for that.
Yes.
It was late at night. I did have the blankets on. I was like, oh, they're eating the termite. And then she came in. We, sustain life. Oh, they sustain life too.
Mushroom, as played by Brie Larson.
I thought it was fine. It was fine. They try to do all sorts of different things with modern documentaries now. So on the list of, the longer we go away from framing John DeLorean, the more I hate the fact that Alec Baldwin played John DeLorean in that movie. The more documentaries we watch, I don't like that concept at all.
Yeah, well, it definitely was trying to get some attention, and we watched it early. So
It's
there
true.
you go.
Yeah.
I will say though that about the guy who directed it too. I wanted to mention. What is his name? His name's Schwartzberg.
Schwartzberg.
Louis Schwartzberg.
Great name.
Yeah, nice guy. No, he's always been over at Shabbos. We've had him for Shabbos many times. But he does the moving art series on Netflix. You ever turn it on and you get a little moving art? It's like it's like just nice beauty shots of things, like nice photography.
Ah.
Yeah, he's there's a lot of like. It seems that he's good at the slow mo and the fast mo. But he does a lot of that. That's his thing. That's his thing. And I think it actually really did make this very watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I just wanted to sort of mention that the visuals were, that was, if we're going to talk about did you like this movie and all that, it was an enjoyable experience.
For sure.
It hit a lot of notes.
Yeah.
It's like The Matrix.
Exactly.
Very visual, big ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Fun little shootouts. No, it didn't have that.
Okay, Alex, are you ready to go into our final segment?
Yeah, I think I am actually.
What did you learn?
So I learned how much fungus means to me, and I might join Team Fungus as a result of it. Yeah.
And what does that look like? Joining Team Fungus.
Well, I already started because I am using an antifungal for my foot. It seems to have joined Team Fungus from the toes up.
Sounds like Fungus joined Team Alex on that one. It didn't have much of a choice.
Exactly. It was against my will. No, I'm actually going to bind with the fungus. Maybe I'll be like a forager. Like my cousin, he forages.
Does he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's something nice. Even the basket Stamets had. I call him Stamets. Like we're not Paul, not Mr. Stamets. But it was a good foraging basket. Made me want to just go into the forest and... But I die so quick. Into the Wild,
What, are you colorblind or something like that?
The guy in Into the
I'm
Wild?
saying, why would you die for the mushrooms? I mean,
I
you've got
just
good
make
eyes.
stu-
You've got keen eyes.
One time when I was in
Beautiful
university, I ate... Thank you. I ate eggs that had gone bad, and I got sick of them, and then forgot to throw them out, and 2 weeks later ate the same eggs, which were now 2 weeks even older, and they had made me sick 2 weeks ago, and I got sick with food poisoning for 4 days off of eggs that I knew were bad because I had gotten sick off them 2 weeks ago. I'd look at a berry and I'd be like, I think I'm allowed to eat that one. Wouldn't do enough research. I'm dead.
Wow. So you're not really fit for Darwinism.
I came at the right point in evolution. I don't need to pick berries.
You're liking it.
And Darwinism I don't really think about anymore. Evolution is about generosity. I don't know if you paid attention to this documentary.
Did you learn that from the documentary?
I did. So people will help me along the way. They always have. What I learned is
I do want to help you now, DJ. I really do.
A third of Europe died during the Black Plague. I learned that. I knew the Black Plague was, you don't get a name like the Black Plague without inflicting a little damage, but a third. Yeah. That must have been terrifying. Yeah. That's what I learned. And 2 million people, was it 2 million? I think 2 million people died during, or no, not 2 million, 2% of the world died during the Spanish flu, although they didn't call it the Spanish flu, they called it something else.
They did, didn't they?
They said the Great Flu of 1918 or something.
Flu. Yeah, good for them.
But 2% of the world died.
Yeah.
That's insane. So that's what I learned.
But if you shave off 2% of our world right now, it'd still be a lot of people left over. We got to do something with this fungus. We got to get the mycelium on our side.
It's true.
Ooh. That's another T-shirt.
Get the mycelium on our side?
Yeah. Or on your side. I think it makes
On
it feel
your
like,
side.
Yeah, get the mycelium on your side.
Or mycelium's on your side.
Yeah.
It already is.
Mycelium? Well, get your celium off of my side.
Get your hands off mycelium.
As long as you're not dancing on mycelium.
How'd you feel?
I felt like dancing. I have an answer for this.
Okay.
But I think I wrote it down. So I just was like, I thought I had my notes ready, but turns out I was too busy making puns about mycelium.
What a great reason.
What a great reason. How did I feel? I felt like it felt a little bit like taking mushrooms in the sense that like that feeling you get of like an unexpected connection with the cosmos, but through learning about it versus through the just inexplicable experience of it. And I felt like it kind of created. I felt like it was another. It gave hope. You know, there's a lot of hope in it. That's why it felt like a bit of a messianic thing. The idea, particularly when they said that that it can change things really fast, like that idea. Like it's a magic pill or something. The idea that it could completely. I felt like, oh really? It could change all this shit. I mean, things are really bad. I mean, we got COVID. Well, maybe the fungus could take care of that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the things are burning up and things are drying up.
Bees are dying. All these things. Yeah.
I mean, if the fungus could come back and save us, kiss the fungus. We're right there on whatever the fungus has for lips.
But yeah, the fungus doesn't care. If we died, it would find a way to keep going.
I would let it sporegasm all over me if I can just. I just
That
realized I
young
didn't
kid.
say it right. That was a good one. Yeah.
Sporulate, sporegasm.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it sporegasm. And this is the other line that I liked. When we see it, we understand it, and then we understand it, we can care about it. And that's the thing, is that in terms of feelings, I felt like because I understood it, suddenly I had deep caring feelings for fungus.
Yeah, agreed.
That felt good.
You know what I felt? It made me want to be a better person for a lot of the same reasons you kind of mentioned. Like, the one thing that really struck me was Stamets listening to Skrillex in his car.
Sure.
And he was rocking out to it, and he said, the young people who work in my lab, we are not allowed to talk in the lab. The mushrooms love loud music, so they teach me all the new music that they're listening to. And I loved that because he was an older guy, and, you know, I know how it is, man. I'm not an old man by any means, but I got my music I listen to, and it can be hard for me to, like, branch out and listen to new things. His mind, and, you know, he was a Deadhead, I would assume, from the hat. He could just be like, I only listen to the Grateful Dead. But the fact that this man was, like, on his own, listening to Skrillex, I know that seems like a small thing, but I'm like, this is a guy who's continually learning in every facet of life. He's open-minded, and that was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, well, he comes from that idea of experimentation, and that's isn't it the whole that's the thing. The whole idea of like the stoned ape is it's an experimenting monkey. It's like oh, I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
that motion is taking the risk of experimenting with yourself, and so therefore, of course, he's going to experiment with music like Skrillex.
Yeah,
sure, you got to experiment with some of that sound.
that's true.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Where do we go from here? I don't mean to cut you off if you had something else to say, by the way.
I don't know. You had your long tirade, and I had 3 things to say, but that's fine. I would say that we would. It's probably a good idea to like learn more about mushrooms. I mean, it's very tempting to kind of follow the path. You know, you see these young guys, like a guy who's like was like a hip hop musician until he dropped that and found some purpose in his life with this. And I looked him up. He's got like his partner handles the business, and she they're like life partners, and he's coming up with crazy little things in his lab, right? So you're seeing like it reminds me of another doc where the idea of like people conducting, it's the same. It actually is playing around with DNA, like CRISPR in the garage or in the kitchen kind of thing. He's doing that with fungus, with mycelium, and it's like, oh, that's kind of like, that's tempting, the idea of feeling like you're discovering new things and doing things that are helping people while Also, always feeling like you're learning, the excitement of learning.
And watching things grow.
Yeah.
And fungus grow so quickly, it would just be such a trip.
Yeah, to watch. So that's that's what I want to do. I want to kind of watch what happens with fungus and watch it grow. That's where we go from here.
Do you mean like watch like fungus, like actually fungus, or do you mean just fungus as a cultural thing?
As a cultural thing, but maybe at the same time just grow a little fungus in my home.
Yeah, I'm here for the glow up of fungus. It could be the new cauliflower, the new acai.
The glow up of fungus is nice.
Where do I go from here? I'm going to do magic mushrooms soon. It's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like you've already gone there. You're going to go there again.
I had a little bit like a microdose amount, but I want to...
I tried microdosing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just kind of didn't really do. I was expecting, I'm going to give me energy and make me creative. I got a little tired. Actually, next time I took mushrooms, maybe I split them up a bit, but I just felt kind of tired and a little bit melancholy. I was like, maybe I need to take more with a shaman of some kind.
Yeah, I'll be your shaman. And what they said, which was another beautiful part, I know we got to wrap this up, but the people who were taking mushrooms who had cancer or other illnesses, and it was either helping them heal, including Stammett's mom, it helped her heal from breast cancer, or it was helping people come to grips with their impending death. And all of them said they weren't scared of death anymore. Or a lot of them said, statistically, that they weren't scared of death anymore, which is a beautiful thing because that's a huge fear, a huge hurdle to overcome. But the one thing that she was telling them while she was like helping them being their shaman is just remember to breathe, and then if things come at you, just accept them. Don't try to change them. And that's how I feel about magic mushrooms too.
That's how I feel about life.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I think that's as good of a point to end it on.
No, I love it. I was going to high five you, but that doesn't feel like mushroom type behavior.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know what the mushroom equivalent is of a high five. I think it's just
I was about to do the exact same
fingers.
thing. Something with the fingertips.
Really?
Like, it's some sort of kind of like.
Yeah. Well, then it must be
I
right.
think it is. It's like a mycelial connection.
Ooh, nice.
No problem.
Next week we're gonna watch King of Kong.
Yeah, we're gonna watch King of Kong about Donkey Kong and the guys that used to play it, and loved it, and were winners, and now they're adults. Not now. This is a little older, but they are adults that are still playing it and wanting to win.
Got a great subtitle too. King of Kong, a fistful of quarters.
There you go. Yes,
it's a good subtitle.
Exciting, yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Hope you had a fun episode. I know I had
agree.
fun.
No, that was a good one. I think. Yeah. Whether or not we were stoned is irrelevant.
If you watch this long or listen this long, you deserve to know. We might have been.
Yeah. Well, not on mushrooms. We're too much pussies to do that.
Are we? How do you know?
Because don't you have them? You didn't offer them.
That's true too.
Yeah. You could have shamaned my
I would have offered. You're right. There were no mushrooms involved. I'm DJ.
I'm Alex.
See you next week.
All right then.